Hi, we're the Brights coming to you live. So
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, I was going to say come to you live on Sunday evening, which is when we usually do our videos, but it's actually Sunday morning. But you could be watching this, and it could be Wednesday afternoon. I don't know.
But we promise you, when you're watching this, it's a day that ends in Y.
That's good. That's good. We always do our videos on a day that ends in Y. Very good. Kind of like how we used to have a joke about drinking.
Yeah, we don't drink every day. We just drink on days that end in Y.
Yes. We don't drink anymore. But that was like our life before.
It used to be I don't drink anymore, and I don't drink any less.
People ask me, I had a couple the other night we went out to dinner with, and they said, so do you guys, like, you want to get like a glass of wine? We were like, no, it's fine. You can get whatever. It's not that we don't, we're not against it. It's just that our joke kind of always is, but it's true, is that I would like to have, a glass of like one or two, and Richard would like to have one or seven. So we just, for our marriage,
mostly 7.
For our marriage, we had to.
Because I wanted 10, but that was way too far out there.
Yeah. So anyway, we're talking today about, we actually did our Marriage Rocks class earlier this morning, and we did a class about we're working on future plans, and we talked about that, and we kind of wanted to talk about the same thing. We didn't want to just post the same class on here because it's kind of our marriage class, and we do it online, but it's like a private group, but you can still join it if you want to. It's called Marriage Rocks, and we have a lot of great things on there.
That's a good shameless plug.
Yeah, it is. But we also like to do our videos on Brighter Marriage, and we were talking about future plans, and we've been talking all month about plannings and financial plannings and doing your any kind of plans, career plans, but we said it's so hard to plan for all these things if you're in a marriage that's hurting or you're stuck, or it's hard to have plans, all the superficial plans,
right,
if your marriage doesn't have a plan.
You're not trying to plan how to be married, you're trying to plan an exit strategy.
Right. You can be trying to think about these plans, how can I
get out of here,
And the reason, and then you might be watching this going, we're in a great place in our marriage, and that's awesome, but just like I was saying earlier today, is that you might know someone, everybody knows that couple that's hurting, everybody has a friend, somebody, or you might come across someone and you're like, oh, I remember hearing that video, and this will be something that can help them.
Right. Because everybody goes with the cliche of, well, it'll get better, y'all just hang in there, it'll get better, and that's not true. We have to do something to make it better.
That's good. We talk, y'all hear us say this a lot, but marriage doesn't just get better, and we even wrote a book called Really Marriage Can Get Better, and the original title was, Really Marriage Does Get Better, and we thought, no, it doesn't just get better, because we wouldn't be divorced from before and remarried. Like, it doesn't just get better. The natural progression is for it to get worse if you don't do anything to make it better. So, but then right now we're talking to so many couples, because this right now when we're filming this, and this really any timing in marriage, but it's especially right now we see it, is that couples are really going through some stuff during this pandemic. Like it just seems like, I don't know, divorce is multiplying. People are leaving left and right. They can't take it anymore. They feel like they're living in Groundhog Day. Everything's happening. They're with the same person over and over. And we're just getting a lot of messages on a lot of people that are hurting. And so it's so easy to get on here and talk about, let's resolve conflict, and let's communicate, and let's do all these things. But sometimes we just need to know, how do we restore love versus resolving conflict? Because it's hard to resolve conflict with someone if there's no love. If it feels just like everybody's angry and everybody's hurting, and it's like, why are you trying to resolve? You're just trying to get your point across. You just want to be right. You just want that person to hear your stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
absolutely.
you want to, we need to restore love. And the Bible talks about that. It's like, love covers a multitude of sins, and God is love. And
it just seems like the enemy and our brain tricks us into believing that our spouse is against us. So once they join the other team, which is against Team Richard or against Team insert your name, then we start to strategize of how we can make them pay, how we can get even, how we can get out. We do not look at it as we're married anymore. We are trying to find an exit strategy, get a plan to get out of this.
Cover our own seaway.
Right. Let's, let me fulfill my own dreams. Let me fulfill my own fantasies. Let me fulfill everything. Let me do my own. Let me be me. Let me do my thing.
I don't need you.
I don't need you. I could do it all. If I wasn't with you, I'd be happy. No, you wouldn't be happier, because you'd still have those same problems that are causing you to have the issues in your marriage right now. right? So how do we get rid of those back problems that are causing us to have the resentment and the anger towards and frustration towards our spouse right now?
That's so good. And I think about the things that work for us, and then we have couples that are around us a lot that have gone through some stuff, and it wasn't like they solved some big problems right away. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't need to work on the things and resolve some stuff, but they had to restore love first. They had to get some kind of love, a little bit, even if it's just something that makes you want to hang on to keep trying. So
I think they decided we're all in. We're going to do this.
yes.
And once you change the vernacular of what you're saying and you stop saying, we just need a divorce. We just start saying, we just need to work this out. We just need to make our marriage stronger. We just need to be on each other's side. We just need unity. Start speaking the things that you're doing instead of, we can't talk to each other. All we do is argue. All we do is fight. This isn't working. You know, we don't need to be with each other. When you start speaking like that, then you can't resolve. There is no way that there's ever going to be any resolution. And then you take all that anger, hurt, and pain to the next relationship.
You can't speak death into your marriage and expect life. You have to speak life into your marriage to get life. You have to edify. You have to speak life to get life, you know? So we need to learn to restore love. And we talk to couples, you know, we'll sit with them and they're at the house, like ready to just, I mean, they're done. They're ready to just, all I want to do is just get to a lawyer and get this over with and stop the pain and pull off the Band-Aid. But at the same time, they're like, but I want my marriage to work. I don't want to do that, but I'm about to do this. And we're like, okay, so are you willing to do whatever it takes? Because basically when you're at that point, you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. And some people are like, yes, whatever that is. Like, I want to be humble. I put my pride down. I'm willing to do it. And some people are like, well,
I'll do whatever it takes as long as
what it is, or depending on what it is.
He, you know.
If he'll do this, then yes, I'll do that. But he's got to do this first, or she needs to do that first, or I'll do whatever it takes, but kind of let me know what that looks like first before I commit to that.
You know what? And there could be alcohol abuse. There could be a wife that is not coming home because she's going out after work with her friends, or a husband that's doing the same thing, or you know, the husband is out on the golf course too much, or playing tennis, or whatever his hobby is, and not giving enough time to the wife or to the family. So there are things that, like, you know, if they just stop that, well, it's not if they stop that, but they've got to cut back on it so that we're able to see that, you know what, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
That's right. And so that's why we're going to break this down a little bit, y'all. So we're going to talk about restoring love versus resolving conflict, or not just versus resolving conflict, but versus everything. Versus we got to have better communication. Versus, oh, he better get a job. But we've got to get love back. That has to be the first thing before we can eat it. It has to be the highest priority. Like, of course, we have to have God first in our life, but as far as our marriage, the highest priority needs to be, we've got to restore some love here. We've got to care about this person to even want to be able to do anything for them. No marriage is free of conflict. You know, no marriage is free of problems. Don't let people on social media, don't let us make you think that, oh, they've got a marriage ministry, they know all about marriage stuff, they don't have any issues. We still work through issues. We're still walking this stuff out. Yes.
Lots of issues.
Lots of issues. But not to the point of what we've gone through
not divorce causing issues.
No. Now it's just all the stuff that was underneath all those real big heavy ones that we had to finally get through. And once we get to that, we're like, oh, we thought we were going to be home free. And it's like, no, it's every day living with this human being that's different than me. And we have to figure those things out, but it's fun. And we're exploring. And yes, some days we're like, oh my gosh, you're getting on my last nerve. But those days they're not days anymore. They're not weeks. They don't last. It's like a few minutes, and then we're like, okay, go to your corner. Okay, now we're fine, and we move on. But there was a time where we were constantly saying deuces that, you know, we're out. So we don't have a marriage free of conflict. No one has a marriage free of conflict. If you're watching people on social media and they all look so perfect, usually the ones that look the most perfect, that have the best everything, are the ones that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're the ones falling apart. We did it forever. Like, it was like, da! And then, we were falling apart. Now we have this thing, like, if we're not, it doesn't mean we're still not dealing with some stuff and we've got stuff going on, but we're not going to get on here and be fake. Like, we're going to tell y'all like it is. And we're still working through stuff. We're still trying to grow as people too. What was I going to say? That you feel like you need to fix stuff. Like, we have to be able to restore love and not just always think we have to fix this person, but we do need to deal with those things. So successful couples haven't gotten through everything, haven't figured it all out. They've just decided to love each other. They've decided to be committed, like you were saying earlier. They've made that commit. That's the first thing, right?
Yep.
Is making that commitment to love this person. And if you're like, nope, I've tried this, I don't have any love for them, we wrote a book about it. It's called Really Marriage Can Get Better. That's how much we believe in it. This is not a plug for the book, but there's a half of the book talking about tipping your spouse or giving to your spouse. Are you just giving just from your heart and letting it overflow to your spouse, or are you just tipping him or her based on their behavior or based on what you think they deserve? When you just
we even give the waiter 20% when they deserve to get stiffed, you know, and we still give to the waiter, but you walk away going, oh, you feel like you just got ripped off, you know, like, man, the service was bad, the food was bad, they never came around, and yet, you know, they expect 20%. You know, when they give you the check, they're all like, well, thank y'all for coming back, and they're all like, ah, you know, and you're just like,
they think they have the best server ever.
Right, and you're like, you know what? Not everybody was born to be a server.
But you know, that's a really good point that you were saying, because there's times that we've done that. Well, we usually do it no matter. Very few times have we not given 20%, even if the service was bad, because we just feel like it's the right thing to do. And there was a time we were like, oh, let's just stiff them. Let's give them 5%. Let's show them. Let's give them a penny. Right. You know, but we didn't always have, and sometimes we don't always have good cheer when we're doing it. So that's a good word for you with your marriage, is that if you're just giving to your spouse, I'm going to give them 20% if they don't deserve it and everything, I'm probably not getting anything back, and you're just mumbling and talking and doing all that and just erasing everything that you just gave. God loves a cheerful giver. He wants us to be cheerful giver.
Not a tearful. Not a tearful.
Yes, not a...
I used to do...
Yeah. Richard. I was
a tearful giver.
Yeah, I'm trying to tithe, you know, even just cry.
What do you mean God needs my money? He's in heaven. He don't need no money.
He has all of it. He's God, isn't he?
His streets are made of gold. You know?
He can just go chip off a little piece of his curb.
More than the $5 I got, you know. But it wasn't about that.
We have to be a cheerful.
If you can't give to God, how can you give to your spouse? You know, when I heard that, that was just an aha moment to me. Yeah. I thought, wow, that made so much sense. It's like, man, if you're begrudgingly, like they got to force that tithe out of your hand or that offering out of your hand, how much forcing and is your spouse trying to get from you, you know?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. What do they say? If you'll steal
if you steal from God, you'll steal from anybody.
So we need to find the love that we lost and try to get that back, even if that's just a little bit. So we hear people talk about the love tanks or their love banks. You know, we're going in, we're trying to get a withdrawal out of this person that we haven't put anything in so long. And if you're in that place, I mean, you're just trying to get stuff out. You're like, give me, you know, I'm trying to get a withdrawal. I'm writing checks. And they keep bouncing because there's nothing in that tank to give you. And vice versa. There's nothing in there. You have to keep putting stuff in there to expect to take something out.
And guys, believe us when we say that. If you put a little bit in, just a little bit, guess what? You'll be able to take a little bit out. But man, as you start putting, and eventually the little turns into a little bit more, to a little bit more, and before you know it, a lot of bits. And next thing you know, your love tank is full, and man, y'all are able to give, you're able to oversee, you know, like overlook some things and just have grace. I mean, that's just how the Word of God is, right? Because we're giving grace when grace wasn't due, you know, or when grace is due. And like, but I didn't earn it, right? But grace came to me. Jesus didn't deserve to die on the cross for everybody's sin, right? But man, that's what he did for us, you know.
We didn't deserve to be saved. We didn't deserve for God to die for our sins. We didn't deserve any of that. We still don't deserve it, but God did it anyway. And that's how we have to, until we can get that who we are in Christ and how he did that for us, even though we're sinners, even though we didn't deserve it, he still had that grace. Until we can get that, it's so hard to be able to do that with your spouse. Like I used to ask Richard, why don't you do this? He's like, why can't you stop doing that? Or why are you doing that? I don't know. And I was like, well, I guess I can't love anyone. I guess I don't know what love is. And it frustrated me so much. But now I understand that that's really how he felt, because he didn't feel loved himself. He didn't have that relationship with God. Until you have that relationship with Christ, and it's not like, we've arrived and we feel it, but we're not where we used to be. Like, we know that it's a work in progress, but we know God loves us, and every day we realize a little bit more. He loves us a little bit more, you know?
That's right. And, and we always try to think, when I first started, it was like, what can I do to please God, and how can I help other people? And, if I'm just serving Him, and that's not it. He loves us whether we serve Him or not. He loves us, right? And so when you get that, and you look at your wife, and your wife is always angry at you, or your husband's always angry at you, and y'all are in a tumultuous relationship, and your marriage is just falling apart, where is the hurt? Two healthy people that are full of love do not act like that, right? This is broken, emotional people trying to work out a broken emotional marriage, right? And we're not going to be able to do it on our own. We're going to need help, because what happens is you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in right now if you could do it on yourself. But when you talk to somebody who's been through it, who thought that they couldn't get through it, but now they're on the other side going like, oh my gosh, you don't even know the happiness and the joy.
If we had quit.
If we'd have quit, we'd have never seen any of it. The best part of our life, the stuff that just gives us the energy to keep going, we'd have never even experienced it. Wouldn't even believed it, right? So it is hard for us to sit back, and when people are like, we're getting divorced, it breaks our heart, because we're like, oh my gosh, if you only knew, only knew.
On so many levels, not even just on what you're going to miss out as husband and wife and what God has for you. And like, if you can, this is just a test. It's what's going to happen to your family. You think you're going to escape and then it's all going to be better and I'm away from this person? If there are kids involved, divorce hurts these kids. Like we have grown kids and it's still hurting. It's still hurting us. It's hurting them. Like, we're still having to work. It is a process. We have screwed up a lot. We did a lot of good things right and we did a lot of things wrong. And as they get older, the more they point it out to you and the more you have to go back to the drawing board, and then they get to grow up and then now they have to take onus. And it's not what you think. You don't just sever the tie because you get divorced and you move on. It's actually probably more hell than it is to stay married and work it out.
Oh, so absolutely.
Work your stuff out. We're glad now where we are. It's been 17 years, but when we look back and know how it was with us, with our spouses before, had we worked this stuff out, had we listened to videos like that, had we done this work, we'd have still been married. We wouldn't have all these divorce problems and all these emotional problems with kids and exes and all. We wouldn't have had to go through it. And we ended up still having to go through it, and we were trying to avoid it.
I try to look at what's happening because families are falling apart, and all I can see is the anger that the world has. There are so many people that are so angry, and they just want what's mine, right? What about what God wants for us? What does He want us to have, right? And so when all of these people are just so angry, look what's manifesting from that anger. Peace does not come from anger, right? We have to be able to talk to one another. We have to be able to listen to each other's heart and not have a comeback as soon as somebody says something.
Right.
I like to call it the Adam and Eve approach, right? Because what did God say? Adam, where were you? Well, it wasn't me. It was this woman that you gave me, God. And then Eve, it was the serpent. Everybody's looking to hang their blame on somebody else. And our marriage went to a whole different level, and we were able to start working through things when I finally said, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility for myself. I'm going to take the onus. And yes, it was my fault for this, the drugs, alcohol, and, I wish I could talk about something else besides drugs and alcohol and pornography.
But that's our testimony.
But that's our testimony. That's what God delivered me from. That's what happened, right? That's what happened to us. So I'm not going to be able to talk about losing we didn't have any finances to lose, right? It was already gone. So, and how we lost millions story. And we got our millions, we don't have that testimony, We have it was broken. Father died at a young age. Mother didn't ever work for 25 years. We never went to church. There was a lot of brokenness then. I didn't have a relationship with God. I hated God. That's my life. That's my story, right? And then I saw where I was when somebody would talk to me about God or Jesus or going to church. Man, I wanted to punch them in the face. I had so much anger. I used to punch holes in walls, rip TVs off the wall, kick car doors in, break windshields out of my cars, shoot stuff, right? Get so angry, take my stuff out and just shoot it. That's rage, all right? And that was purely from Satan trying to destroy my life. I can't tell you how many times I stuck a gun in my mouth wanting to kill myself, right? Because I was that broken and that lonely and so despaired. And alcohol fueled that a lot, but I also thought alcohol was making me feel better. Pornography is making me feel, all the things that the world tells you that you need, You know,
Well, because I think that stuff gives you comfort, and you think it's comforting, and it's comforting you because then, but it's actually just an escape.
because it's a selfish.
Right.
It's selfish.
You're just
you know,
somebody. It's an escape. It's not a comfort. Might be a comfort for a few
It's
minutes.
imitation. It's an imitation
That's
for the
good.
real thing.
That's good.
You know,
That's
it's
really
an imitation.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and we all know when you take regular vanilla, it tastes delicious, but when you take the imitation, it's like you can kind of, you know,
It tastes like fake.
You want to take some fake strawberry extract. Oh my gosh, it's the nastiest stuff you've ever had. You know, I want the real deal. You know, I don't want an imitation.
But you know,
right?
I was thinking too what you just said about how about the world is everybody so angry, and I feel like this in our marriage. Like, you know, I don't know about y'all, but I'm watching stuff on TV and I'm thinking, man, if everybody could just talk, if we could just work this stuff out, if everybody could listen to each other and hear each other's heart, instead everybody wants to get retaliation, they want to get even, they want to get retribution, you know, restitution, or they want to retaliate. If we did that in marriage, if we do that, and I think that's why marriages are hurting so much. So much is going so crazy because people are like, "Yeah, you hurt me." I mean, if I
you owe me,
right? And I did that with Richard for years. Like, look, these are all the things you owe me. This, and this. I didn't actually say you owe me this, but in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I have. You don't understand what I put up with, and until we stop doing that, until we stop pointing the finger and saying you and keeping score with each other of who hurt who, okay, it happened. We got to take the gloves off. In marriage, we've got to be able to, like, you know what, it hurt. We got to get past it. We got to work this stuff out. And we got to put, just like God, we have to forgive each other of our sins. We have to forgive those who trespassed against us as we've trespassed against those others. Like, we have
the
to.
hardest part was judge not, or you shall be judged the same way. Right? Because
It's still hard.
yeah, it's still hard because everybody thinks you're and we're not judging. We're not judging. You know, we see things because I once was blind, now I see. I see relationships and I see the pain and the hurt and I see exactly what's causing it. But the people that's happening, they don't see the same way. They see it completely different. And I'm like, man, if this and this and this and this were to change, you wouldn't be going through the stuff that you're going through right now.
And I think
you know,
in
a lot of people, well, that's judging. No, that's wisdom, right? Judging is, oh, they're just scumbags, and they're never, judging is completely different, you know.
And I think we have to. So I kind of got me off track, but so to restore love versus conflict and all the other things that are important that we got to get to, but we have to restore that love first. First, number one, like we said, we got to make a commitment to do that. We have to commit to love each other. Love is a decision; it's not a feeling. And if you go on your feelings in marriage, oh my gosh, I wish someone had taught me this the first two marriages that I had, because I thought, oh, things are good. We're on a roller coaster. Oh, things are bad. Oh, you did good. Oh, what have you done for me lately? And it was just, I love him today. I can't stand him. And this is how we lived. And this is how we lived at the first. And this was my third marriage, his second marriage. And here we're going through this. Oh, boo, I love you. We are so in love. And the next day, oh, I'm out. Because we didn't understand it. We have to choose to love our spouse regardless. Like, we have to love them with all their faults. We have to choose to love them. We might not like them sometimes, and it's not going to be like, oh, we're always feeling in love. Oh, people say, oh, I fell out of love with my spouse. That's why we're getting divorced. Love is a choice. Love is a decision. We have every reason in the world to not be married right now. Every reason in the world to not love each other anymore. But we chose to love each other. We choose. Even now, we choose to love one another. We made a commitment that we are going to choose to love each other and choose to work this out. Another one, number two, is to identify habits that are destroying your love. Because for us, I loved
alcohol, pornography.
That was ours. And those were the things that were destroying all the things that we fell in love with, all the things that we had at first. We couldn't even see that anymore because it was just so clouded with all these bad habits of things that were happening. So we need to be able to identify those habits. And I thought, I'll tell you honestly, I thought if we could, and we used to party together, so it wasn't like Richard was just doing alcohol, drugs, pornography. When we first got together, we were partying together. And then I thought, oh my gosh, we have to go to church, and we need to be a family, and we got custody of his children. And it's like, we got to get this together. We can't just be fun, loving couple anymore. And when that happened, that's when it all went south, because we thought, how are we going to live? I want to live this certain way, and he's still wanting cool girlfriend, and that's where the rub came in. And so then I thought, well, if he would just stop drinking, alcohol, the pornography, all these things, our life will be so good. Like, he'll see. But that's a lie too. Just because you deal with get through all those things, you're married. This is an ongoing process with another human that changes.
What was the root cause of all of that? Mm-hmm. That's what you have to get to. Until you kill the root, the tree's going to come back. the branches are going to come back. You know, you could cut it off at the very bottom, look like, oh, tree's dead. Nope, it's going to come back up. You have to get, and, you know, this is so cliche. You have to get to the root. You have to get to the root. Do you know how hard it is to uproot a tree? Oh my gosh, I've done it, and it's hard. It's painful to uproot a tree because you have to work hard at it. It just doesn't like you chop a few roots and it falls over. Man, you've got to dig and cut and dig and cut and pull and pry and dig and cut. I mean, that's what we have to do in our marriage. We have to dig into it. We have to cut into our marriage to figure out why are we wired the way we are. And that's what, you know, Pastor Jimmy Evans says that, man, we marry a spouse that is subconsciously we marry a spouse that's going to help us go back to our past so that it will help heal our future, that will help heal our past, right? From our past, yes. But when that doesn't happen, we start to turn on each other. I've seen so many couples turning on each other, but man, we were at their wedding and they're just celebrating, and man, I love her so, man, she's the best thing that God brought her to me. Oh my gosh, he is such a mighty man, and now they can't even stand to be in the same room together. So something happened along the way. You know, we didn't say, baby, when you marry me, I'm going to make your life a living hell, and I can't wait, you know, but I love you.
That's not how you do it.
That's not how you do it,
like,
right?
wait till I unpack all this baggage I got in my trunk. You are
you know, the stuff I haven't told you about. Oh my gosh, right. Don't worry. It's all going to be okay.
It's not that much. I pack kind of light, you know, and you're driving a U-Haul, you know.
Just don't give up. Don't give up. It'll all be okay. No, it won't all be okay. We have to work at it. You gotta make
a commitment to love. You gotta identify what the habits are that are causing you to lose love, and then, like he just said, you have to understand those emotional needs of your spouse. First of all, you gotta understand what's driving them to do those bad habits. Like, what are the root of those things? We had to have some really hard conversations, and for years, I don't think I, you know, they say, you can't handle the truth. I don't think I always was trying to get the truth from him, and he would always just say, I don't know, but I don't know that I could have handled the truth. But I got to a point where you get so sick and tired of things being the same way that you're willing to take whatever. Like, okay, just give it to me. Just give me all of it. I'll just take it, and I don't care how much it hurts. It can't be any worse than what I'm living right now. And then when he was able to really open up and get to the root and his emotional needs. I mean, he didn't even know these things because he had buried him and he was medicating him and holding him. I didn't realize how much hurt and pain I have from my childhood, from my other divorces, from things that happened in my life that I had buried, and I was trying to act like, oh, I'm this perfect on the outside, and then we're going to church and everything is great, and we got to make sure our kids are, you know, everything is good and everything's pat because now we're Junior, you know. But we were hurting, and just think what that does to your children. If you're not getting healed, if your stuff is all messed up, those kids aren't just going to be okay. Like, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. And they're seeing it whether you think they're seeing it. And there's so much stuff that the kids don't even know.
If your dog knows that y'all are having issues, right, when it's trying to eat its way out of the house, you know.
If your dog jumps off the bed every time when y'all start talking and you're like, no, I'm not mad. And the dog's like, let me out. You know, and then I think about that, like, even
Dr. Fluffy says you are.
With our grown kids, you know, like they have a lot of hurt stuff, but they don't even know what because as a married couple, you're not usually we didn't tell the kids a whole lot of stuff. They saw what they saw, but they really don't know. And Richard and I said, we're going to have a whole hashtag that's like, parents are people too.
Hashtag parents are people too.
Because we're working through our stuff and we're still walking through it. And yes, we all want to try to be shiny on the outside because that's the only way we can keep from going under and freaking just dying. You know, for us, we had to do that to stay faith, to keep going, to keep putting one foot. Otherwise, I think we would not have made it. Like, we had to that's the only way that we could keep going, was to just keep, and our pastor did a message online this morning and he talked about that, about the Bible talks about it, just keep stepping. We had to keep stepping. And we just have to have that with our spouse to know if they're really trying and they're stepping and we're stepping, that we just have to trust this process that God is working it out. So we want to be able to identify, and then not only identify what their emotional needs are, but understand them, and then talk about those and not use it against and retaliate and bring it up and bringing up that bad history and bringing up the past. We need to be able to start fresh, move forward, talk about the stuff, work it out. And we're telling you this from our own life. Like, we know that it works. It's a hard time to go through, but you get to a point where you're like, life sucks so bad anyway. How much worse can it get? You know, but I promise you it can get worse. It can get worse. Going through a divorce and doing all that stuff is worse. So make a commitment to love, identify the habits, find out what your spouse's emotional needs are. How can I meet those needs? And then execute a plan of how do we stop some of these bad habits? How do we eliminate some of these bad habits? Not just like, okay, I talked about it, but then I'm going to keep watching pornography. Like, what are some steps that you can put into place? Do y'all need to put stuff on your TVs and your computers and your phones for a while until things can, you can get that trust back? You were saying earlier today about that if you cause something, you have to kind of take the punishment, I guess, or not the punishment, but you got to take the brunt.
I have to take the responsibility. So if she goes, then there's no Wi-Fi in the house. We didn't do not the Wi-Fi because she needed it for work, but I took the HBO, the Cinemax, the cable off of the television, and I was angry at first. Of course, I was angry because
$100 phone, y'all.
Yeah, I don't even to this day. I still don't have it, and I don't have an issue.
And I tried it. I even buy him. Bought him too.
I use it for Pandora, and that's it. But, at first I was very angry. I was upset. I wanted to retaliate, but I didn't because I realized, you know what? I'm the one that caused this issue. So if this is what it takes for her to feel secure or vice versa, she's the one that caused the issue. So if this is what it takes, I need the credit cards. I need to see there's no more overspending. I need to see where the money's going. Then we have to put stuff in place, and we have to be okay with that. Because it's not like, I need it in place so I can control you. No, you have an issue with this, and until this issue is resolved, until we get through this, until God delivers us, until we get help, and we get on the right track, then, man, there's got to be things in place to keep us from backsliding and keeping that one thing in place,
That's good. That's really the other step, which is how do we meet them at those needs, and what is our responsibility in that part? And so it would have been really hard for us if I had told Richard all this stuff and we were talking about it, and then he was like, well, I'm just going to be angry about it. Like, okay, I'll quit it. And then I'm like, oh, great. So I'm a dream crusher, and you're just going to walk around like, okay, now what? Now what do you want me to do? Like,
now what do you want me to quit?
You got what you want.
Right.
Instead of his heart changed. Like, he became look, I caused this stuff. It made it so much easier for me to love him and forgive him and to trust him and to move on when I really could feel his heart, and when I saw that he was really trying to change things, and I could see that it sounds real churchy, but I saw like the spirit come off of him, like he didn't have this darkness on him anymore. It was just like God had lifted that off. And so we're just telling y'all from what has worked for us, and we want you guys to watch the videos and to learn about conflict and communication and finances and sex and all that stuff. But if you are in a point right now where you're trying to restore the love, you can't even get to that stuff until you restore that love. You've got to be able to find out what little bit can I give my spouse. If you get our book, Really Marriage Can Get Better, and there's half the book talks about that, going from tipping your spouse to giving them a little bit to giving to them. And God loves a cheerful giver, and if you just keep giving, I promise you, the more you give, it's just like that. It's a principle in the Bible.
And there's simple how-tos at the end of each chapter.
Of each chapter. Yep. So we thank you that you watch our videos. Please share our videos. We also have a YouTube channel. No, because the timing will be, you're going to talk about the 18th ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then this is going to be on YouTube, and it'll be all. Anyway, we're doing some marriage date nights, and we're going to start having bunches of them. But if you go to our Facebook page that you're watching it on right now, Brighter Marriage, and if you're in the Houston area, we're going to talk about, we have some date nights coming up, and we'll be able to put those dates on there, right?
Perfect.
That's good. So please share our videos. We love you guys. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we believe that you guys are going to be able to restore love in your marriage.
Amen to that. Love y'all.
See ya.